today's video I want to show you a working Stormclaw build. Yes, I know, that's the sale. Blizzard has not been very kind to this build and has definitely not shown much love despite it being one of their community's favorites for the Druid. I, however, did not want to give up. It's comfort food served with Granny's loving hands right into our stomach to warm you from within, because the reality is much tougher. Juiced gear, billions spent. Polished to the point of other S tier builds smashing tier 8 infernal hordes, just like you should smash the like and sub button. Commenting down below how everything will be fine once I perfectly masterwork this bad boy. The build is so much fun to play. Straightforward, rhythmic, easy, and uses all the Druid has to offer. It is also very tanky, stacking DR, insane recovery, and barrier to prevent us from getting slaughtered. But it's lacking in terms of damage and AoE. Well, I did solve the AoE thing somehow with ANDARIEL and Cataclysm, but the single target DPS is missing out on good base damage, which a lot of skills got to enjoy. This leaves you at around T6 to T7 hordes with 90 to 100 pits, uber juiced gear. Yeah, that's not great. But it's still very fun to play. You just run around and claw things to pieces, summoning the force of nature to your side. Lightning, tornadoes, pebbles, poisonous novas. It looks phenomenal. The pinnacle of comfort food. With that said, let's look under the hood and check out what makes this build viable instead of ultra trash. Stormclaw has a ton of different issues. One of them being no AoE, which need to be solved in order to tackle any form of content in the endgame except tormented bosses. ANDARIEL lies at the core of the solution, the Poison Nova with great base damage that procs on a lucky hit. All of the Druid's base skills have a high lucky hit chance, which allows us to use it very well. Next is the issue of scaling our damage. Claw is physical, Stormstrike is lightning, Earthspike is physical, Cataclysm lightning, ANDARIEL is poison. The first four are Storm, ANDARIEL's poison is not. Luckily, we still have some options with Wildheart boots, Mjolnir's ring, Fists of Fate, multiple Paragon nodes, and passives offering generic all-purpose multipliers. Fist of Fate is especially important with its massive lucky hit chance, increasing the likelihood of our ultimate cooldown recovery to occur, resulting in 100% Cataclysm uptime and basically doubling the damage on ANDARIELs. The Nature's Fury keystone is however not influenced and only procs on spellcasts, so it's a flat 35% chance. And to flesh out our survivability, we are going to use a Tyr's Might, which helps with AoE as well as the symbiotic aspect, allowing us to benefit from 100% Earthen Bulwark uptime. All this and more can be found in written form on the Mobalytics planner, with detailed sections for each topic and multiple planners for each stage of the game. Make sure to also leave a like here, which will help me out a lot. Next, let's have a look at the skill tree and subsequently the Paragon board before we dive into the gear and stats. Now for the skill tree, we pick up Earthspike, we pick up Stormstrike and Claw. Because of the great staff of the Crone, we are going to proc our Stormstrike, and because of Nature's Fury, we have a 35% chance on every single cast of our Claw, which also has a chance to double cast, and every cast of our Stormstrike to cast an Earthspike. Now Earthspike hitting an immobilized or stunned enemy is going to cast a second Earthspike. We pick nothing in the Coskel cluster, we max out our Earthen Bulwark to get the maximum life barrier up as much as possible. With enhanced Earthen Bulwark, we are permanently unstoppable, and we pick up Preserve Bulwark to generate Fortify, which is a nice DR buff. We also pick up 1 point in Cyclone Armor to get this one on our bar. We are going to never use this one, but it's 15% non-physical damage reduction. We only need 1 point in Ancestral Fortitude to pick up Vigilance, which is 21% DR. Because of Tyr's Might, we are basically always kept on resistances. We do not pick anything in the Companion cluster. Then we pick up Hurricane with Savage Hurricane for DR, and we pick up 1 point in Elemental Exposure, 1 point in Endless Tempest, which is 15% X on our Cataclysm duration, so we are at 17.25 seconds, and a basically 44-second cooldown on this one. And we are going to pick up Bad Omen because of our lucky hit chance and high base lucky hit chance on our basic skills of currently 90% on Claw, 45% on Stormstrike, and 63% on Earthspike. This will cast Lightning Bolts, which we then scale with the Electrocution glyph, providing us with a 20% X. An enemy hit by the Lightning Bolt will receive 20% more damage of you. We pick up 2 points in Mending, and we also have Envenom. And because of ANDARIELs, we are always going to poison enemies, and we are basically dealing 70% more damage. We pick up Defiance and Natural Disaster, as well as Cataclysm with all its nodes. We pick up Quick Shift because we are constantly shifting back and forth. Claw makes us a werewolf. Then we cast Earthen Bulwark and are going to go back to a werewolf with Claw. This makes Quick Shift a permanent 24% damage increase. And we pick up Nature's Fury with the symbiotic keystone, which is on our pants, providing us with CDR, basically every time we use Claw, to reset the cooldown of Earthen Bulwark. And Earthen Bulwark helps to reset the cooldown of Hurricane, which we now have permanently up. In the bar, we also have Maul. This is because of Wildheart Hunger. We need something to maintain our stacks, so we need the Maul in between our Claw cast if there is nothing around to reset it with Earthen Bulwark and another Claw cast. Next up, the Paragon board. I will go over this one quickly. In the starter board, we have Spirit for a 12% more multiplier. We pick up Thunderstruck, which scales all our Storm skills. Earthspike is usually not the Storm skill, but because of Nature's Fury, every time we proc this one, the Earthspike has the Storm tag, so we scale this one with Thunderstruck, which deals an immense amount of damage. This node is taken care of by just our staff, so the Great Staff of the Crone basically completely takes care of this one. Now we pick up Outmatch, scaling our physical damage, so Claw, as well as Earthspike. This will also boost Stormcaller as well as Hubris, which is 15% damage reduction. This one is currently at 15, so this one is a little bit higher once you max this one out. Next, we are going to move to the Earthen Devastation board. We pick up Oppress on the way, and with all the nodes and everything we have currently on the board, we max this out just by the last point. If we take out Oppress, we are back down to 54. To achieve this, you need damage to crowd control on your amulet and on your ring. With a fully masterworked amulet and ring, you can drop this specific point I have currently shown and pick up a little bit of life. In this board specifically, I have Earth and Sky currently at 12. With the last point, you will be able to pick up Willpower and generate 10% more damage with nature skills versus vulnerable or crowd controlled targets. So 10% more damage, and additionally the Earth critical strike damage right here, and a little bit of resistances is going to also scale. Next up, we go north of this Thunderstruck board. We pick up Constricting Tendrils here. Our base damage is actually pretty high because we are currently rocking 20 base skill ranks. This is multiplied by the X you can see here, and then multiplied by other generic Maul multipliers, so the poison damage is pretty good. In the Constricting Tendril board, we're going to pick up Electrocution with 40 willpower. This will provide us with a 20% damage increase with lightning bolts. We have a high lucky hit chance, and I previously also shown the Bad Omen passive, which procs a lightning bolt, providing us with 20% more damage. Next, we're going to path to Inner Beast. On the way, we pick up a little bit of damage to crowd controlled and life. In this board specifically, this glyph is not leveled. It's at level 1. I have been struggling to get my armor up, and I was experimenting how I can do this without the need to roll armor on our gear, because we can roll willpower instead. And this node fixes this completely, because if you get this node up and running to the maximum you can get it to, this one will provide you with around 500 additional armor, which is just enough to get you above the threshold with a percentage total armor temper to get to 9230 armor. With this glyph not leveled, you need an armor roll on your pants, because otherwise you're just shy of basically 500 armor. And you need 3 skull gems in your jewelry. With Tyrion's Might, your resistance capped for basically everything. Like there is nothing you're even slightly near the cap. And we pick up Tenacity as well as a ton of maximum life here. Next, we're going to path left and pick up Heightened Malice for 45% more damage versus poisoned enemies. If there is 3 or more poisoned enemies nearby, you can poison enemies very, very easily with your ANDARIELs. So this one is basically always active, especially for the bosses. There is 3 bosses in the Infernal Heights all the time. So at the start, you want to poison everything and keep them in the vicinity of each other. And then you're going to deal more damage. And lastly, we're going to path to the Survival Instinct board and pick up Fang and Claw. This one is currently at 11, so I'm not in the reach of every node. We have 10 here and 5 here. So if the radius increases by 1, this one encompasses everything, and you get another 12% more damage multiplier. So we're currently missing around 30% more damage. Now, next up, the gear. The gear for this character is absolutely juiced. This is a warning for you. This character is expensive to build and is not performing very well. However, you can use different things from this build on other builds that perform much better. So if you are in need of a little bit of comfort food, you can switch to this build very easily by switching out a few items. Now we're going to start with the Staff of the Crone. This weapon is mandatory for the build to function. We want the greater affix on basic skills and our masterworks on basic skills. I confirmed the Stormstrike 200% more multiplier does work, not like last season. And the damage to close on this one is around 470 currently. This is completely fine for this build. You're capping your Thunderstruck node very easily with this one. The chains to different targets on the Staff of the Crone sadly reduce the damage of your Stormstrike, which is absolutely insane. So every time this skill changed to another target, it deals less damage. Why? I am not entirely sure. The base damage is not very high, the lucky hit chance is not very high, it is low on attack speed, it provides a 15% DR, and it basically deals no damage the further it jumps. So it's 20% less, then 20% less, then 20% less. So basically it deals no damage. I'm pretty sure this is an overlook and they can completely scrap this effect on the staff and it would not affect anything on the build. Or they can just take away the 20% less damage, give this one a 40% buff and it's actually good, but still decent. It's fun. Next, we're going to look at Wildheart Hunger. We want to masterwork the shapeshifting attack speed and we want to have as much percentage more damage on this one as possible. For the Wildheart Hunger, there is a specific thing you need to do. So usually during combat, you're spamming your claw, which transforms you into a wolf, and then you press your Earthen Bulwark and are immediately changed back to a human and then back to a wolf, and your stacks grow and grow and grow. You can constantly spam your Earthen Bulwark and have no worry in the world that it's going to fall off. However, sometimes you don't have enemies in front of you and the stack will sometimes fall off after free. So what you're going to need to do is use your claw and in between change back into a bear, and this will keep the stacks growing. Okay, those are the basic mechanics. Next, we're going to look at the Mjolnir Ring. For the Mjolnir Ring, we want the willpower as well as the critical strike chance to be a greater affix. I only got one with a high percentage roll on the More Multiplier. The More Multiplier affects every damage we deal. So basically, once we activate Cataclysm, we deal double damage. This also influences ANDARIELs. So the Poison proc right here, same for the Wildheart Hunger. It also affects ANDARIELs. And we also have Fist of Fate with lucky hit chance and your attacks deal randomly 1 to 290% damage. This also affects all our damage. So that's also very, very good. And because of the lucky hit chance you can see here, we are doubling the damage of ANDARIELs because we are basically proccing this one 2 times. And additionally, we are constantly applying crowd control effects which stagger enemies, which stuns them or immobilizes them. And then our Earthspike is going to deal another instance of damage because we are picking Wild Earthspike. We are further scaling our basic attacks with Moonrise as well as adaptability. And as mentioned before, Symbiotic is going to reset our Earthen Bulwark constantly as well as our Hurricanes. So those are constantly up. And we fix our resistances and damage reduction and maximum resistance and movement speed with Tyrio's Might. So Tyrio's Might is excellent. Now, what do we do about the Cataclysm uptime? Currently, we need to reduce the cooldown by close to 25 seconds. That's a lot. But because of our lucky hit chance in the Spirit Boon, Calm Before the Storm, all our nature skills have a 10% chance to reduce the ultimate cooldown by 2 seconds. Because of our high lucky hit chance on basically every single attack we deal, we are going to reset the cooldown of Cataclysm just before it's going to run out, especially during boss fights, but also during regular play, which results in permanent 100% more damage. Now for this, we want to hit the Masterworks on our lucky hit chance on the Fists of Fate. On ANDARIELs, you want to hit the Masterworks on attack speed to cap our attack speed. We are currently at only 86% attack speed. This is not taking into account the shapeshifting attack speed because this one is another bucket. And the 20% basic attack speed of Moonrise is also not accounting to this value because it over caps. Basic attack speed goes over this cap, and with the right Masterworks on ANDARIELs, you can get this value to close, very, very close, 100%. Now our crit chance is going to be at around 60% with the build we are currently rocking. With a greater affix on our critical strike chance and the willpower, you can get this one to 60%. On our amulet, I am currently also rocking 9% critical strike chance, but with a greater affix, Fist of Fate, you can get to 60%, which is the value you want to reach because we are basically scaling our damage through critical strike damage. So you want to be at least at 60%. Remember, this value is multiplied by your critical strike chance multiplier. Basically, if you have critical strike chance at 60%, you're going to multiply this value by 0.6 to get the actual increased damage on average. So you want to get critical strike chance at least to 60% because that's the value that is needed to make it comparable to vulnerable damage, right? Otherwise, vulnerable damage would be better for the build. Now, for the pants specifically, you want maximum life as a greater affix, then basic skills as a greater affix, and then willpower as a greater affix. With everything fixed, currently I'm overcapped, but I have those pants here. If I level my glyphs, this one is going to be slotted into the spot. We get the 500 additional armor through our Paragon board, and we have better pants here. You want to hit basic attack skills with your masterworks to increase the damage even further. Here is also the total armor roll, and you get crowd control duration. Alternatively, in the tempers you can get barrier efficiency, which increases the barrier of your earthen bulwark. This is better because otherwise we are not going to reach the 100% maximum life on this one, just 63, so we are a little bit more squishy than we should be. And as mentioned before, the tempers on your ring and your amulet need to be damage to crowd control and Cataclysm cooldown on both. Otherwise, you're not going to reduce the Cataclysm cooldown enough. And for the amulet specifically, you want to pick up Envenom as a greater affix, then Quick Shift, not Defiance. I'm currently rolling for this one. I am 250 million in, out of mat, and I'm still only at +1 Defiance. +1 Defiance is the third affix passive you want to roll on this one instead of the critical strike chance. It's going to boost your damage more than the critical strike chance. It's basically 12% more damage if you masterwork this one the right way. So you want to hit Envenom and Quick Shift on the amulet, then Defiance as a blue roll. So you're going to reroll this one, but this amulet is going to cost you billions and billions. Overall, the costs sunken into this build, specifically, just so you know, ANDARIEL is nothing, Tyrio's Might nothing, Fist of Faith cost me 500 million, those pants I found, those pants I paid 150 million, for the Wildheart Hunger, currently here, I paid 800 million, you can probably get this one for 600, for the Great Staff of the Crone, I found this one, but similar staffs go for around 400 to 500 million, the Amulet I found, but similar go for around 1 billion, and Venom, especially in this constellation, is very, very strong. The Ring of Adaptability is just a trash ring. A greater affix ring with a willpower and crit strike chance roll on this one goes for around 150 to 250 million. And the Mjolnir ring goes for around 50 to 150 million, especially with a greater affix roll in willpower and a high Cataclysm affix roll. Now for the spirit boons, we go with Wariness, then we pick up swooping attacks and Avian Wrath. For swooping attacks, you can exchange this one for Iron Feathers if you feel a little bit too squishy. This provides you with roughly 4 to 5k health, which is pretty decent. Otherwise, if you're not at 60% crit strike chance, I would highly advise you to go with the 10% crit strike chance to reach the soft cap of 60%. In the Wolf, we want Calamity for 25% more duration our Cataclysm. If we change this one, we are down to 13.8, which is just not enough. You need this one to function. And Calm Before the Storm in the Snake. Now this sums up the video. Stormclaw is sadly not the strongest skill, but I still love it and it's comfort food for me, so I wanted to showcase this build. I know it's not going to perform well, so if you have any support you can give this video to make it pop in the feed of anyone, share it please, because man, this was a lot of work to get this one started and to get this one working. And I hope they will do something with the skill, maybe in the mid-season patch, buff it, like 30 to 40% would be enough to make this one viable in tier 7, tier 8. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough sell. So, see you next time and bye.